Well, it is 5 o'clock, and I'd like to call the March 1st it is, meeting to order. Let's get started with meeting minutes from January 28th. A motion, please.
I will make a motion, we approve the meeting minutes from January 28th.
I would second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Payroll and AP manifest.
I will make a motion, we approve the payroll and AP manifest. Not seeing any though.
I'd second
they're on
that.
the counter.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, new business. Item number 1, review and approve the memorandum of understanding with the town of Plymouth for infrastructure project planning and implementation. We have a document.
Should we ask Mary Ann if she can hear okay?
Yeah, unfortunately we have not.
Would you ask Mary Ann if she can hear?
Yep, I can. You guys are nice and close, too.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah,
The whites of your eyes now. Thank
Yep,
you.
we've expanded our size here.
Paul's got a handover.
Oh,
I know what that is.
okay. Someone's pushing on you. All right, so unfortunately the board hasn't seen this, so I guess I can read. It's not. Does anyone want to give a summary of it?
Just a summary, it was generated at the request of the town manager.
Yes.
You will recall, we entered into a memorandum of understanding a year ago-ish.
Yes.
When the EDA project was moving ahead. And so Kathy called probably 2 or 3 weeks ago and said that she would like to have it expanded to include other stuff. Since we're starting to look, for instance, we have the 4 warrant articles on there, that 2 of which would involve Highland Street and Russell Street. So she asked if we would put something together that expands upon the original agreement.
Yeah, this is kind of important stuff, so I'm going to read. I think it's worthwhile to read a bunch of this. This memorandum is intended to outline and document a working relationship between the town of Plymouth and Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District. It is established by and between the parties as a basis to maximize coordination and cooperation in the planning, design, funding, and construction of infrastructure improvements in all areas within district boundaries throughout the town. All right, so on and on, just language of understanding here. So, yeah, item A, priority number 1, South Main Street, the town's EDA stormwater project team and the district's Main Street water and sewer project team will continue to meet on a regular, consistent basis to coordinate the 2 projects to ensure efficiency, cost effectiveness, and ongoing communication in final design, bidding, contract negotiation, construction, and inspection, with emphasis on eliminating duplication and redundancy wherever possible, with specific attention to minimizing disruption and negative impacts within the construction impact areas. Item B, priority number 2, which is Highland Street, the town manager, highway department manager, water and sewer administrator, and superintendent will begin meeting immediately in an effort to plan the best way to maximize infrastructure improvements in conjunction with the town's current Highland Street construction project being implemented with DOT funding starting in 2021. Well, or 2010.
That should be
Guess that should be 22,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it's technically not incorrect. The town and district will work on coordinating water and sewer upgrades into the town's road and drainage project to ensure efficiency, cost effectiveness, and ongoing communication in final design, bidding, contract negotiation, construction, and inspection, with emphasis on eliminating duplication and redundancy, etc., etc. Priority number 3, develop a shared listing of infrastructure projects that we're in the planning stages, such that funding for design and construction may be considered with the next 3 to 5 years, so that grant funding may be explored and applied for as appropriate on a timely basis. This list should include brief project descriptions, available details regarding the elements of the project, cost projections, planning status, anticipated funding approach, etc. And then priority number 4, create a combined water and sewer district town staff committee to meet, discuss, and explore options for greater sharing in areas such as asset management, GIS, CIP development, engineering services, grantsmanship, and project planning and management. So this is all great. I mean, it certainly benefits the people in town. You know, it's all about cost savings and sensible planning.
I would agree with you.
Yes, so a motion to,
Sure, I mean, and I guess that since this is a continuation of what we already did, we can leave it as 2021,
Sure.
right?
I don't think
Because we-
2021.
yeah, that was just specifically talking about a project starting in 2021.
Right.
Obviously, it's gotten a
Maybe
little delayed.
that was an edit, I think that was an edit that
Kathy put in?
June put in,
Okay,
but it may be because that's when
yeah.
it was initiated.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
that would
So
make
I
sense.
make a motion that we have Chris sign as chair, or do we all sign? Because there's only one line.
You can
I can-
have Chris sign.
Sign is
Yeah.
Okay,
on behalf of the,
on behalf of
Yes.
the board?
I would second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 And
Okay.
Kathy said it'll go before the select board next week.
Okay. And if they need us to sign, all sign, Mary Ann, do you have any idea? Do they want us all to sign it, or do you think just having Chris sign it is fine?
Wait, why don't you start with Chris, and if we need more, we can discuss it then.
Awesome, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so, discussion of office hours versus remote, working remote for staff. This came up in our previous discussion. We had some conversation about changing the office hours for admin staff. And I think the consensus of the board was that we'd like to be talking about having Kim and Heidi in the office 3 days a week instead of
Right,
2.
instead of 2.
Yeah. So Monday, or Tuesday, Wednesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yes.
And
It's fine with me, that.
part of our thought process was because of some of the issues that we're having with MRI and the communication back and forth, if you and Heidi are in the same place at the same time, seeing the same thing, rather than one trying to guess what the other one is seeing, if one person can't get on the system and the other one is on the system and we're trying to get Christian involved, I was just thinking that way you guys are both here.
It works for us.
Yeah, I think it's a
It works
great
for us.
idea.
Yeah,
And that, I'm hoping will smooth the transition and relationship and training and
Yeah, I mean,
good
obviously,
stuff.
this is all, I mean, I don't think we're taking a hard stance here, but we feel like,
Yeah.
Yep.
probably I think we'd all like to smooth out some of the wrinkles here in the software side of things, so I feel like this is a worthwhile
Yes, I agree totally.
Great.
effort, so until further review, I think that's an initiative we would like to,
Start it next week?
yeah.
Heidi's in Florida next week.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I
Guess
guess,
what?
I guess that,
Yeah, she picked the right week to leave, didn't she?
Heidi will be surprised when she comes back.
Surprise!
Will the office be open on that day, or will we close just in?
well,
I
I
mean-
think that, I'd leave that to the discretion,
Yeah,
in my
I think
opinion.
you guys can,
If,
We've been doing some of that, like last Wednesday, we met with Dawn up here, but we've kept the door, no customers have come. I mean, that's one of the things I was gonna tell you is that, in February, we had zero walk-ins. In January, we had 5 payments. We had 89 total deposits and 69 of them were electronic.
Right.
So there's not a whole lot of walk-in, but it is very beneficial for the two of us to collaborate together. So
Right.
we agree with that. So I
Mhm.
think we would probably, of course, if somebody came to the door, we'd let them in, but I think having a day together
yeah,
that's just
that's
us
just working.
is probably good. And
Yeah.
if you have a meeting that comes up, you don't have interruptions, so
Yeah, well,
probably would
let's-
leave it that way. The
Yeah.
computer's set that way, the website's set that way,
Yeah,
the
no, I-
phone's set that way.
you good with
Yep.
that?
Yeah, that sounds
So-
fine.
Yeah.
I think that's what we would do for now, unless
Okay.
you find there's a reason to
I
change
haven't
it.
heard anybody say they can't get in when they need to.
No, we
Yeah.
haven't either.
No, I've heard no complaints from anybody.
Yep, well, good, good.
Okay.
So item number 3, cybersecurity update. So,
Because I just put the proposal up there in case it was refreshing for anyone.
Right.
but
I haven't seen it, so I haven't seen it.
So, Jason and Don and I and Kim were on a phone with Katie today, Katie LaValle today, earlier
CCS.
from CCS, right. And so we heard a bit from Katie about what their capabilities are. She had proposed getting us in short order a proposal for work, because we made it clear that we are eager to apply for a cybersecurity grant here in the next week. And she seemed receptive to getting us a response, and she would be willing to address the board as well. Made that clear that wanted you all in on it. I think, I don't know, Jason, this isn't, even for someone who comes from a technology place, I'm not a network person, there's a lot to take in, and I have to admit, listening to Katie's side of things today, I felt like there's still a lot of unanswered, there's still a little lack of clarity there as to what the best way to go. I mean, obviously there's work to be done, and if we were to secure a grant, that would be fantastic. But, I guess I'm a little surprised that, there's some things that VAXA has pointed out that I thought, that maybe CCS should have probably been on top of, like our firewall.
Right.
He's saying it wasn't configured. Well, why was that the case? I mean, I think the one thing that bothered me about Katie's presentation today is she was saying that she had made a number of suggestions, and I said, well, I don't recall, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't recall her addressing the board since we first signed the contract.
No, that's the last time we've heard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing I would suggest is the contract we do have with CCS right now, it's a fair amount of money. It's pretty vague, and I would encourage the board to consider a more detailed contract, which is more...
I'd like to see something like that.
Right. I mean, I don't think it's asking a lot when you're paying $20,000 a year to have a contract which specifies, here's the equipment involved,
Right.
and here's the schedule of replacement.
Exactly.
Because the current contract, it says there's an addendum, but I've never seen it. I'm not sure the board has ever seen it.
I've never seen it.
I think we should have more specifics. And, and one thing about that current contract is it has a schedule of replacement for workstations. It is entirely unclear to me, and I forgot to ask this today, that, what is the current schedule, what computers are scheduled to be replaced and when? And I think we really ought to that ought to be one answer that
She
we
did say the server was 2020.
the one server
But not
in there,
for-
the older server, is scheduled for next year. But I think we really need to be specific, and I don't want us to hastily sign a contract in order to get the grant without,
Right.
firming up a number of details here. 'Cause we spent a bunch of money on the initial
Site,
evaluation.
Right.
Which, I mean, she agreed that was a good effort and that there's a lot of positive things there. But, there's a lot this is yet another project where there's a heck of a lot to consider.
There's a lot of moving parts. Now,
Yeah,
Jason and I were talking, or Jason and I and Kim were talking, one of the issues is that with this comes equipment that needs to be replaced every
Every
so
5
often. It
years.
needs to be maintained.
Right.
Software that needs to be updated. And at some point, it
You buy the
becomes
computer
an exponential expansion in terms of cost of operation.
Well, I'm not sure it's
I
exponential,
don't
but
think
it's
it's
certainly, but
exponential, but
there's we're gonna
it's a
have to
regular
develop,
maintenance schedule.
we're gonna have to
Schedule.
fund,
And then the internal capability to run it all. Well, part of the conversation today was we've got the SCADA consultant who disagrees with the IT consultant in terms of how things can be interfaced, and his preference is to come and do it at the machine rather than doing things automatically. And so there are pieces. I don't think it's going to inhibit applying for the grant, but I think the decision making needs to be deliberate.
When do we need to have all of these answers before we can apply for the grant?
we were talking about that today. We think we can apply for the grant globally and then fine tune as we go ahead. To get
Okay.
I think we've got to get our
Oars in the water.
I think David will be probably the most helpful in terms of the language associated with cybersecurity. They're pushing it now because of the situation
Oh, yeah, definitely.
in Russia and
All right,
Yeah,
those kinds of
there's
issues.
definitely
every time you
reasons.
turn around, there's
She thought she
something
could come
new
up with
that's suggesting
some
that
sort
this,
of answer, some proposal next week, so,
right.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, I mean, fortunately, we've got a meeting next week, so, I mean,
right, so we
if,
can semi-talk
if we
about
do
it.
hear from Katie by then, that's gonna make it, I mean, I would recommend that we put this on the agenda for next
Yeah,
For
next
annual
week.
meeting, you mean?
yeah.
Yeah, and
I mean,
and
annual meeting
revisit
doesn't
then
start till
and hope
6,
that
so
we have
we
some
can,
progress.
we can start at 5, our normal time, so,
Yep.
and then jump into annual meeting at 6.
Yeah, I mean, there's one aspect of this that's network upgrading and configuration, and then the other aspect of it, cybersecurity. There's a lot of overlap.
Right,
I mean, today we talked about possibly doing remote desktops here so that the server would be resident down at the plant, but I'm not sure that's ideal because there's no air conditioning down there.
Right,
So, there's
yep.
a lot to think about.
So did CCS mention anything about cybersecurity, or they're saying, all right, we'll handle the hardware side of things and
No,
then
they-
you need
they
a
said-
cybersecurity specialist?
At least my interpretation of what Katie said was she believes they can handle it all.
Right.
I'm not sophisticated enough in all of this to understand, but I didn't get the impression that she was more confident about it than I guess she let me feeling. She didn't give a lot of examples of where they do this.
Yeah, I mean,
How they do
obviously, the cybersecurity consultant we hired does cybersecurity. And they also do the infrastructure part of things as well. I never got that feeling from CCS that they even remotely had any
Well, I mean, it never came up.
And maybe it never came up, and they do.
Would the grant allow like two
I mean-
vendors, different,
Oh, for sure, yeah, there's a lot of flexibility for
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I mean, I think
maybe two?
I would recommend waiting for
Yeah,
Katie's
let's see what
proposal.
Katie
I mean,
comes up
it's
with.
potential that we discuss this with David and
Yeah.
at VAXA and get a better idea of what exactly it is that we're wanting to do. And then, the amount of the grant.
Right, so that was one of the comments to David from VAXA that I made was, we have a proposal before us for all of this equipment and hardware. What is the replacement? If we're looking 5 years down the road at another. I think
That
it was
amount of money, right.
Something $1,000 for hardware, are we gonna be able to sustain that
Right.
long term?
And I think
then
when
what's the
a
risk?
quick
What's the level
perusal,
of risk if we don't do that?
right, I mean, a quick perusal of this, there's hardware, like the server, 11K, okay, but some of the other stuff he's talking about, like the mounts and stuff like that, are gonna be the same. So you don't have to repay for those. It's like you take the part out and you put the new
Yeah,
part
I'm
in.
not sure that was a big portion of the.
Well, no, but I'm
Some- at
saying
least
there's some stuff, you
Yeah.
know,
That's
that,
permanent.
yeah,
That was also a purchase versus what we're leasing now, so we're on a lease schedule versus that being a direct purchase.
Right.
right. And I mean, this is 22 and 14, so
Well,
that's 34,000. So it's not horrendous, but it's not cheap
right. Well, nothing.
and not.
So
Nothing,
we want
nothing
cheap, but-
nothing we touch is,
in the meantime, one of the things I hope we'll be able to do is find some industry focus group that may be able to provide some advice and counsel that's not in the practice of either selling their consulting services or providing the equipment or the network. Get a feel for
Yeah, we
what's
saw
going on. I mean, so far, Jason's call
I actually spoke to the woman that did our original EPA cyber action plan and mentioned this to her. I didn't provide her with the information, but that may be a person to reach out to.
Oh, yeah?
To say, hey, we've been through this assessment with you, and what do you think about this?
Yep.
Yeah.
And where's the industry going? I mean, the challenge with technology, and you know better than I, you guys deal with it all the time.
Yeah, it
is
changes
Changes
yesterday.
every 30 seconds.
Yep.
Right, I mean, yeah, I mean, in
As soon as you
CCS,
build it, it's out of,
in
Yeah.
CCS's defense, I mean, 2 years ago, I mean, that whole cybersecurity within the realm of government agency, that was a long time ago. It wasn't quite as heated and focused an issue as it is now.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, I mean, they've been with the district for a while, so they kind of started out with kind of the word processing, desktop computers, setting it up, and then the networking, how do we connect this one to that one, and
evolved,
it's
yeah.
grown over time.
Yep.
And certainly I mean, we're
Okay.
just kicking around today, what's happened in the utility world is unbelievable
Right.
since, that we've had to worry about the bad guys messing around with it. And
okay, so Katie said she can get us something by next week.
she said,
Yep.
hopefully.
All right.
She said yes, we'll wait and see.
Yeah, we'll see. Item number 4, discussion of training sessions for Kim and Heidi by MRI. This is something that came out of our, I guess I can say, out of our non-public session last week. We had hoped that having face-to-face training might improve the
Right.
situation
Everyone,
with,
yeah.
as opposed to trying to do things piecemeal on,
Right.
Yeah.
by phone or whatnot. And we thought the board ought to reach out to MRI, to Christian, and say, would like to schedule.
As part of our contract,
Right.
we have the original contract, we were trying to wade through that contract and figure out what training they actually supplied based on the wording in the contract, and we were having a hard time figuring that
Well,
out, I
but,
think.
I mean,
And
it's a
I
new
think we
year-
need
it's a new year,
and
yeah,
we
right.
Get started with the new
Yeah,
training. Again, the whole idea behind this is to be able to see exactly what is going on to cause the problem. Because I think by the time we call over there, it's like, well, I did this. And they're like, well, what steps? And when you do it, it's like, I don't remember exactly what I pushed when. I just
Well,
did
Jason
it.
documents it pretty good.
Yeah, well, good.
Leave it to me to find all the issues.
Well, then you need
And
to be on the
honestly-
training too.
Right, I was gonna say that Jason probably
Yeah.
does need to
Yeah.
be in some of the training, because
But
I think sometimes when Heidi and I talk to him about the processes, whether it's PO or AP,
Right.
that he's out of that. So
Right.
sometimes I think it would be good to have Jason have a rundown with us of those things.
And we're thinking, just a couple hours at a time, like one module thing, and then get that
Yeah.
worked out, and then the next one at a next in person.
Yeah, I think that has helped Christian, for myself in my situations, explaining exactly what I did to
Okay.
get to where I had, or the error or whatever it was.
popped up. Okay.
And he was able to turn around and correct it.
So that's so
somewhat.
that's what we
Yeah.
need, and then that's why I'm thinking that the eyes on makes a big difference.
Because he was, sorry, Bob,
Go
he
ahead.
was saying that, oh, well, we usually do it this way and it works. And I said, well, I do it this way and it does the same thing and it doesn't work.
Right.
But the end result is kind of the same, same direction. It's just a matter of like we talked about keystrokes before. Some of the things with the keystrokes that
Yep.
are doing one way and I'm doing it a different way, but definitely explaining that exactly how I got to where I was with Christian definitely helped.
Okay.
So is there a way of recording keystrokes so that you have the exact playback so you can give to them? I mean, that's one of the security things they talk about is somebody logs and gets into your computer and they're following your keystrokes to be able to, get into your information. Is there
I
a
don't
way you
think he
can
has-
record
they don't have that.
keystrokes?
Yeah, I don't think
I don't
that.
believe so.
Okay.
but repeated, that's supposed to go away.
But I'll reach out to Christian and see if he can schedule a couple hours on each module to get us
Yep,
better.
sounds good. And we have 5 minutes before Chris Berg's.
Ah, right. Yeah, well, we had another item here on the list. Maybe we can, module permissions, that's probably gonna take more than 5 minutes. Payroll options, maybe we can get started on this.
Oh, I mean, I think after reviewing everything and going over some of the things that we discussed and what Kim researched, I feel like moving to paychecks is probably the right idea. It'll save us money. They seem to know what they're doing. They've given us a good proposal.
Their demo looks
Their demo
very
looks
user-friendly.
good, and it will hopefully clean up some of the communication issues we're having between MRI and the office.
Well, I mean, it's important to point out, I mean, in my discussion with Justin and Christian, regardless of what payroll provider we go with, there's going to be an issue with complying with reporting for New Hampshire retirement. And that's going to put effort on Kim's part to be manually, as I understand it, producing that
The
reporting.
paychecks will produce the report,
You file the report.
and then Heidi and I will learn how to, which I've seen Cindy do it, and I don't think it's that complicated. So once they have the report, you will have who had regular hours, who had overtime hours, which are reported differently in New Hampshire retirement, and then it's just a matter of logging them in bi-weekly.
Okay, well,
Okay.
I mean, that was my, that's my,
And then we
that was
already
my concern is that.
Pay through AP, you write the check
Mhm.
and send off the contributions. So from what I heard from them, they could produce that report. They would not do the reporting because it's a login issue and whatever, but we would be set up to do it through New Hampshire Retirement.
Mhm. Would you like to have any input on this, Bob?
I just happen to like paychecks because I've used it with 2 different companies I've worked with.
Okay.
It's super simple. I mean, for even putting in your hours, that employees can put in all their own hours and you can check them and verify them. So we had a supervisor verify the hours because I had them put in for my employees when they were working for me, and I approved their hours, went through and checks were there.
Okay, well, I mean,
Yeah, it's
it
super
impacts
easy
you
to
too,
put in
so.
vacation requests if we want people to request vacation
Yep.
through paychecks. It's super easy.
So
I think, Paul, you're on board with this.
I'm definitely on board. It sounds
Okay.
like it's a step forward instead of a step backward.
And I thought that you had mentioned also that when you had spoken to MRI, that payroll was really a secondary thing that they jumped into because, not that it was something that was supposed to be part of their
Well, I mean, it's
original
something that
software
they felt like they
module.
had to do as far as
Right.
being a full service, to provide the full service, suite of services. I mean, I would point out that Justin and Christian mentioned a particular payroll company in Nashua, that hasn't, that never really caught the light of day. I mean, I'm not gonna necessarily be against paychecks. I mean, it might have been good to look at a couple of others, but, I don't wanna split hairs here on.
Well, we did get information about 2 others. that
Right, no,
Kim looked
yeah,
at.
no, I understand, yeah, ADP is another big player in the market. Well, I mean, it's a feeling, I'm welcome to go to a vote on this,
I'll make a motion, we switch our payroll from MRI to paychecks.
And this would be effective,
We would like to see the first quarter close out the end of
Right.
March,
So
so that we could
April
start the
1st.
first bi-weekly in April.
I
And that
see.
would
Okay,
start
that
the
makes
second
sense.
quarter.
yeah,
Makes
that
perfect sense.
Yep.
I'd second that.
And all those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
okay, perfect timing, look at that.
Half-past, yeah.
Let's,
Chris, light up your mic.
Hello, Chris Berg.
Hello, how you doing?
good, how are you?
Excellent.
Jason.
There he is.
Good to see your faces.
No, Louise.
Are we expecting a representative of DES?
Luis had accepted the meeting,
Yes.
but I don't think, it's not, required that he's.
Okay, all right.
If you want to, take on another agenda item, and I'm happy to hold off for another couple minutes to see if Luis comes online. If that's appropriate, or I can jump
That's
right
up
in.
to you.
How long is his presentation?
If
Because we have a
it's-
6.
If it's not a requirement,
It's half hour.
Yep.
So
All right,
since we have
Yeah,
another at
we're
6, we might want to
trying-
get.
we have a thing at 6,
six,
so,
oh, you go ahead.
All right.
And
Sounds
if
good.
Louis shows up, we'll let him in and he can watch.
All
I think
right.
that's all he does anyway, right?
Yes.
And, well, Luis is a pretty vocal guy. I'm sure he'll add his piece, but
Okay.
about the program and do his advocacy piece. But regardless, can you make me host
Yeah,
so
make
that
him
I can
host.
share my screen?
Sure. Where are you?
just go to more, yep.
Yep,
Thank you, host. There you are.
yes.
You're now the Grand High Hoopa.
Oh, perfect. All right, share. And
We don't have any pipes that look
You've
like
got that in
that.
your office.
We don't have any pipes that look like that.
Lead pipe, yeah,
Trying to
yes,
get rid
these
of
are
all
the
of
ones
those.
we want to get out of there,
right, yep.
Alright, okay, so just to reiterate who I am, I'm Chris Berg with Wright Pierce, and I'm Senior Project Manager here. For those who are tuning in at home, the district has endeavored on an asset management project related to the water service assets in the district, under control of the district, and Justin Skelly. And Joseph Perez.
Yep, that's with the town.
Okay. Event. Town Hall.
Sorry.
Town's asset management consultant.
Justin?
Joseph Perez.
Joseph is our new assistant planner.
Well, who's the other person on the,
Justin Sultan.
Justin
He's
Skelly?
the town's asset management
Oh, okay.
consultant.
oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So for those folks who just tuned in from home there, we're just getting started on the asset management presentation related to the water service assets for the district. So I'll be speaking, as well as Jason, in regards to what was completed as part of the project and how we can move forward with our continual asset management for the district here. So just a quick overview of what is asset management. This is we're a number of projects into asset management in relationship to the district and their assets, so this isn't anything new, but asset management is really a process of operating, maintaining, upgrading, disposing of the assets that you have cost effectively, while maintaining a minimum level of service that's acceptable to customers for the most appropriate cost. And it's kind of a generally accepted description of what asset management is, and it's sort of this cyclical process. And over the years, we've continued to do this. The district is continuing to do this on a cyclical basis, so looking at their existing infrastructure, reviewing that information against the level of service, looking at risk of in those assets, prioritizing around that risk, looking at capital improvement planning, and then going back through the cycle again and again and again, because it's something that's a forever task here in managing the assets for the district. So from an asset management sort of formally, the district has jumped into, it's really started diving into asset management planning in the early 2000s, and over the last
Yeah.
7-8 years here has done quite a bit, and it's been really progressive and gotten some accolades associated with their efforts through the asset management program here. And so our effort here really is the last piece of it thus far in relationship to the water services. So level of service is something that really drives the why of what we're doing or what you're doing in relationship to asset management. The districts revised their level of service agreement multiple times to sort of fold in the different pieces that they were looking at and evaluating in your systems between the facilities, the distribution system, some of the valve and hydrant information now we layered on top of that, the water service assets. And so some of the level of service examples that we integrated into the level of service agreement that the district maintains is complying with lead and copper rule revisions, those upcoming revisions that will be coming into effect in 2024. Complying with upcoming water conservation plan that will come into effect once the holiness wells are online. Eliminating cross connections, inspecting backflow prevention devices, and some of those other water service asset related tasks and management items. If you didn't know, what is a water service assets? What really are they? What are we talking about here? And so the water service assets really start at the water main and go from there into whatever facility is using that water. So in our scope of work, we looked at the corporation valves, what I would consider the district responsible of the public side of the water service pipe, which terminates roughly about where the property line is, where the curb stop is. That's a district asset, and then transitions over to the private side, or the property owner side. There's that portion of the water service is their responsibility. The water meter, backflow prevention devices within their facility or their home, those are owned by the property owner as well. So, more tabular information. It's water services get a little sticky because they're owned by two different organizations. The district owns the public side assets, and the homeowner owns the private side assets. So the property owner owns the private side assets, but the district is responsible for the maintenance and testing of some of those assets associated with the water meter or the backflow device, prevention devices. And so there's also a lot of these things. The likelihood of failure of these things is typically fairly low, but there's a lot of these things to track and organize and maintain. And so we'll get into some statistics in a little bit, but this portion of your system is probably what you touch the most between the water meters and the backflow prevention devices, just because there's the volume of these things. And water meters and backflow prevention devices, these are things that get changed out every 5 to 10 years. So there's consistent investment in these assets, and these assets are typically maintained and replaced on an operations budget as opposed to a capital improvement budget. So a little bit of a different animal than some of the other efforts, asset management efforts that the district has encountered here. So what do these physically look like? Over off to the left here, that's a corporation stop that's attached directly to the water main. The water service is this blue plastic pipe that would run from the water main up towards the facility. This curb stop is this with a curb box is this on the third picture over there. That's what a curb stop and a curb box would look like. A water meter that top there, and then towards the bottom left is this is a lead gooseneck associated with one of the water services. And this is something that we're looking to get out of the system is in compliance with the lead and copper rule. More to talk about that in a minute. So in addition to all the other assets you have, the water service assets there's, like I said, there's a lot. You've got about a little more than 1,000 public service lines, about 1,100 customer meters. Yeah, about half of those have testable backflow prevention devices. So a lot of assets, a lot of things to track. Put it there. Okay, good. So as part of the effort that Ray Pierce was worked with both the district and their asset management software vendor, Elements, to consolidate and refine the existing GIS information that we had available to us. So as part of this effort, we took a number of different kind of disparate databases and combined them and consolidated them so that they were more accessible through the Elements platform and our GIS online data set, so that it reduced the redundancy in the data and sort of distilled all that information down so that it's more streamlined, more available, and there's less potential for tracking information in multiple locations. We reviewed scans of the paper tie cards and took the information off of those tie cards and put them into asset data associated with the GIS and/or Elements, so that information can be leveraged in making some risk decisions or some decisions based on for asset management purposes. So for instance, taking the information off of this tie card that we're showing here, Henry McIsaac, there was a lead gooseneck that got replaced with a lead gooseneck adapter back in 1983. We can take that information and push it into some fields in the GIS data there, so that information is trackable and searchable in that GIS data set.
Freeze.
Yep.
Zoom freeze.
We aren't froze, he
No.
is.
Nothing you can do to unfreeze it, is there?
No, because it's on his end. He may or may not be aware of that it's happening.
Frozen.
Yeah.
Yep.
We should ask him to give us those slides.
Yeah,
We got them.
We've got them?
Yep.
Okay, good.
that graphic of the house and the lines.
Oh my
That would
gosh,
be
yeah, we
awesome.
need that on our website.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, he's figured it out.
well, he either figured it out or he's gone, because I'm in control.
I think you.
Yeah, he probably logged out and is gonna log back in. So, we just need to wait for him to come back. Which I'm assuming he will in a second. Unless they lost internet down there.
Uh-oh.
That's so frustrating.
Well, it is snowing. Not
Yes.
badly, but yuck. I'm done.
I know, it's time for
I'm
spring.
done.
We get a little taste of it and I was like, come on, spring.
Well,
Technology's wonderful when it works.
Mm.
do we want to keep going on the agenda while we're waiting for him, or what? I mean,
Just as well.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Well, if we go back to where we left off, next up was discussing the permissions module permissions in MTS for commissioners and the role of the treasurer. And we need to decide the protocols.
well,
Or
how did we do it when we were signing in here?
Well, I have to admit, I just assumed that we waited for everyone to sign. So it was like,
Right. So,
but I mean, but before you say fine, that let's keep doing it that way. I mean, consider that on some occasions, someone's on vacation or out sick. with one of the commissioners. So
Right.
should it not be enough that it's just, we're requiring just 2 signatures?
Right, I think we're requiring at least 2
For
signatures.
purchase orders.
2 or more.
Don't let me,
But I'm uncomfortable because now you're gonna be online. I guess the way I would propose is that, that before Kim hits issue,
yes.
she checks if she's only got 2 signatures, because if one of you intentionally doesn't sign off, I'd like to see it come back for a conversation, so that,
Oh, if I voted nay.
Well, you
Yeah.
can decline.
Yeah.
Right,
They
right.
can also decline.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
not,
So, all right, so if
we're
you can- if
thinking
you
about
become-
what if Judy is down in Florida and is
oh,
not,
then, I mean, consistently, it's been 2, but we've always bowed to a discussion if someone had an objection, is what is.
right, so if somebody votes to decline, that
Yeah.
would automatically lead to the discussion,
Okay.
right?
Right.
Yeah,
I
So
would
how
think
is it, how is that handled? Is that just like Kim sees that you see the decline and then it goes on the
And
agenda?
then it comes on the
Yeah.
agenda.
So,
Yeah.
for
That would make
instance,
sense.
That
Yeah.
makes sense,
That's
Yeah.
a good way to
right?
do it.
I'm good with that.
Right, as long as she's got 2 signatures, she should be able to do what she needs to
Trying
do.
get
But
back
we
on
also
instead
need
of
to know,
trouble.
as far as the
So
other
ask them if he
modules,
wants
such
to
as
reconvene rather than wait a day
AP,
or-
like,
So he's gonna give it a
do
couple
you
more
folks
tries.
want to have view only in order to look at, say, a vendor or a payment? Would you have a need for that? Then there's also the budget module, there's bank reconciliation, which I believe is just going to be treasurer.
Honestly, I want as little control over that thing as possible.
Well, remember,
what about
read
view?
only
Yeah.
read only
Yeah, but how
is,
much-
Yeah, view of everything is fine.
Yeah,
See, if somebody asks a question, you have a place to go and answer.
that's true.
Right.
And you don't have that now. You have to call somebody or chase around to
Right,
try to be able to
right.
answer a question. If you have view only and you know, once we have
Once
been
we know
exposed
where
to
to
it,
look,
it will give you an opportunity to know what's going on.
it seems like in
So you want
a,
to
view only of everything.
yeah, in a
GL,
conceptual
AP.
world, I mean, you know, that's
Right.
a check and balance
Right.
on our
Yeah,
Budget.
budget, and I think that we should
And
have.
budget you might use someday.
That's
Right.
right. That's right,
Right.
because you might be making changes as we talk to people right
Yeah.
there online.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
So you
think
at least
that
want
makes sense, view only, and
right.
Right.
We
that
can't-
gives us the reports if we want to look at
Right.
get a
And the
report or
same,
anything.
same for you.
But we
Bob,
can't change
and
anything.
We can't
as well
break
as
anything.
bank reconciliation. The ability
Especially
to
me.
reconcile.
Yes, I will be doing the bank reconciliations from this point on,
Okay,
as part of my job, so
Okay.
I will have full access to that.
Yeah, it looks like we
Awesome.
still don't have Chris
yeah,
Berg.
Chris got in touch with Jason and said he was trying to log on still. He was gonna try a couple more times, and if he couldn't get logged on, we'll reconvene at
Okay.
another point.
Okay. The dog ate the router.
Cybersecurity, right?
Is that where we're gonna leave that? We'll just-
Is there anything more we need to talk about
I
with
know,
this?
I think that,
We're good?
I think that's
Yeah.
what we needed to tell Christian how to set you up, because right now you can only see PO because they're just off in the background.
Right,
Right.
right.
So we'll have him reactivate.
Just
for you.
reactivate as long as it's view only.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess the only other thing with regard to MRI is we don't have we do not yet have a signed
Signed
contract for
contracts.
2022.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'd like that we communicate that we would like some of this training, and, you know, I guess that's part of the contract.
Right.
I presume that you'll get in touch with Christian and say,
Yes.
the board would like to
But you want to.
know your availability for on-site training,
Yep.
and,
And do you
I mean,
want a new proposal as far as they will no longer be doing the payroll? Do we want an update?
right, I mean, I
Of
guess
what the
at
services
some point,
they-
I presume we're gonna be,
Right.
they're
Right.
gonna want us to sign a contract, so,
Yep.
I mean, I think we're getting closer to that, so,
All right, I'll ask
Well,
about
some of that training should be on them anyway, because we didn't get the training for each module that
There
we should
were-
have gotten.
Right, right.
6 or 8 hours for each module, so I'm sure they do owe us sometime.
Right.
And then when we
Yeah.
went over that, then we obviously would have to pay for it.
Oh, he's back.
oh,
I'm back. Sorry about that. Good old internet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Don, you gotta make me the host again. All right, perfect.
Yep, so you've got 10 minutes, and Chris, to tell us everything remaining.
Perfect. It's time for Jason to chat a little bit about what we've been working on, or what we've been working on with the CMMS system, and all the good things that got implemented as part of the integration with CMMS for this project.
Sure, thanks, Chris. CMMS is the computer,
Something management system.
right,
Okay.
computer maintenance management system, yeah.
Thank you.
So that's what they call essentially an asset management software.
Okay.
In the utility realm.
Right.
So what we did is we purchased Element software and have now, like Chris said, integrated our GIS component into it, as well as built out a number of tasks for all of our assets. So all of our below ground assets and all of our above ground assets are now in this software set up so that we can manage them going forward.
Every single one of them.
Most of them that are of significance.
Okay. I had to ask.
That's a good one. That's a
Okay,
good
pencil.
one. Anything that's significance in there.
So the great thing about this is it interfaces both the district staff, the operation staff, as well as the office staff. So prior to Elements, Kim and the office staff were using Continental to create service orders. We'd have to come up here and have a paper service order, go out back in the field, bring it back in here, Kim would have to file it. Everything that service order program would do in Continental, this does better. So we're able to, Kim would be able to log into Elements, pull up a customer account, create a service order for whichever task that she or the customer requests, and be able to send that out to the staff in the field. So they'll get an email alert as well as alert on their Elements account that they have a task in their bucket.
Now, you guys are doing this on the iPads, right? You've got the iPads in the trucks and.
Yep. Yep.
Great.
And
Handy dandy.
once the service order is created, the staff will complete it, hit essentially reassign it back to Kim or myself, one of whoever they're reporting to that day, and we'll be able to check it off that they completed the work. They can include any notes in the system. They can include photographs of the work they did. They can track time on site, and also be able to for like meter tasks, be able to report the reads directly to Kim in the system. So we have documentation of that with the work order, and so back here at the office, Kim can put those in Continental. So some of the work orders, we've done a couple of screenshots. You really can't see them very well with this small screen. With a larger presentation we gave, Chris and I gave earlier this spring, we were able to see a lot better, but we walked through all of the different screens to be able to set up a service order. If you can go to the next one, Chris. We have service orders for backflows. Our backflow paper form is now in Elements, and we're able to fill that out electronically, so that saves a lot of time. Customer information, is in there. And then we have the map interface as well, so we're able to pull up not just the customer assets, but also the district public assets, and see the interconnectivity there. We can pull up an entire service line and say, we want to go out and inspect the line, check the meter, make sure we test the backflow all in one spot. And we can also track it geographically. So if we have a bunch of older meters, let's say scattered throughout town, we can look at the highest density of those older meters and pick off, say, one road at a time and go down the road and work through. So that's the nice thing about this, is we can, like I said there, we could highlight an area and then pull up all the information within that area to determine what's needed. And we would go out there and not only check the meter, test the backflow, but we would also inspect the service line at that time as well. So that's very important with the lead and copper rule coming up, to be able to have that information like Chris mentioned. So we
So
have...
we can do that color coding, with the different services to say, well, this is lead, this is not lead, we're unsure, is the gooseneck possible? And so we can get a lot more granular information on the services or what you're going out and looking at, say, oh, okay, well, I don't know if there's anything, or this hasn't been verified, the private side information from going out and doing a backflow prevention, but our backflow test, you go, all right, well, you literally need to look to the left or the right. Say, oh, this is a copper service line. Now we know that information, and we know it's copper versus unknown, and that helps reduce some of the unknown risk associated with those services. So,
and that, like I said, increases efficiency too, so that we know if we go out to a property, we know several tasks that we need to do while we're at that property, so that we don't have to return multiple times. Okay. Yep. Go ahead, Chris.
absolutely. Good deal. And one of the things that wasn't part of the initial goal of the project for water service asset management, but came in kind of in the middle of it, is the lead and copper rule revisions. And the four major components of the lead and copper rule revisions are listed here. And the two big pieces that are really going to be not issues, but considerations moving forward is the lead service line inventory replacement plan and the public education and outreach piece. And so I'll talk briefly about those things. The lead service line inventory, we've been able to make a dent in the information that's required as part of that effort. That needs to get completed by September of 24. May seem like a long time from now, but it's only a short 18 months away that the lead service line inventory and the replacement plan need to get put together by. That may change depending on
Well, it's perfect timing, because guess what time it is?
It's 2 minutes.
He's back.
Oh, no, he's back.
and so and there's an annual notification for anybody who has a lead service line, a galvanized service, or an unknown service line. So that's there's some specific trigger levels. If there's an exceedance, there's a requirement to replace a certain number of lead service lines, or what's either unknown, galvanized, or known lead at 3% for 2 years. And so reducing the amount of unknowns you have is really important to reduce that number of services that are required to be replaced if an exceedance has happened. Now, Plymouth does not have a history of exceeding lead and copper or having issues with compliance currently, but the sampling will change. There's a bunch of things related to the lead and copper rule changes that may make that more difficult to remain in compliance, but that's a discussion for another day. Again, public education and outreach systems have to provide this information on the lead service line inventory to local and state agencies, and also inform customers annually. So there's an annual communication for people that have either lead service lines or unknown service lines that will need to occur on an annual basis. So looking at Plymouth's information, where the most potential for lead is, if you look at the area in the red, is the downtown area. That's the oldest area in town. The oldest sections of distribution system is the largest potential.
My property is red.
So, just looking at all right, well, how does this impact the bottom line here? If looking at the amount, currently we've got about 200 of 1,000 service lines that are confirmed with no lead on both sides, or not on both sides, but on the public side. We'll assume that the public and the private for this discussion are going to be of the same vintage, or the same material. So 3% of the unknowns there is equals 24 services. If you had an exceedance event, you'd have to replace 24 services a year for 2 years straight. So that's 48 services, roughly 10 grand a service. That's $480,000. So it's not an insignificant amount of money that would need to get expended if an exceedance event happened, or if you were out of compliance with lead and copper rule. So something to think about as you move forward.
Is this an unfunded mandate?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
In a word, yes.
But
It's
that
a
may
regulation.
change. There's some funding that's coming through the IIJA that may be available for this type of replacement effort, but that hasn't been ironed out really. So recommendations, very, very quickly, collect more data. You've got to work on that lead service line inventory replacement program. Maybe consider a lead service line replacement capital reserve fund. In the event that you get into that situation, continue to do the good work you're doing, replacing customer meters, testing, replacing backflow devices, coordinate service line replacements with larger projects that you've got going on, like Highland, Emerson, Russell. Those will take, as you get that information, you'll be able to install that infrastructure. You'll be able to take those unknowns, if they are unknowns, or lead service lines, if they are lead service lines, turn them into and track that information and say, all right, well, these are all copper now, and they were installed in 2022. And so you'll be able to reduce that level of unknowns or material that's out of compliance with the lead and copper rule. So there's
We're at a couple minutes past the hour, Chris.
You've got to watch. You should.
Funding opportunities. I want to thank NHDS and the board and Jason and the rest of the crew at Plymouth Village for letting us work with you on this, and looking forward to the next one.
Give me the control back, please.
I will hand that off immediately. Share. And
You can just reclaim host on the bottom. Bottom right.
Right.
There you go.
all right, I'm out.
Alrighty.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes, thank
Yes, for updating
Keep
us.
smiling.
you. Reservoir.
Keep that internet rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Alright, so if this is to be a non-meeting, do we need a motion?
Yes.
Well, yeah, so-
You need to go into non-public, if you've got another non-public scheduled.
Right.
So,
right.
yes.
So at 4 minutes after, the district is going to go into non-public session according to RSA 91A.